Why do so many people fail to learn, and why does it come so easy to others? This is no less than the ultimate question, the holy grail of education itself. There have been many attempts to find an answer, some more successful, some less so. Let's throw another one on the pile. In this video, we're going to tackle one of the greatest issues plaguing the entire world of education. There might be a remedy. While this video is technically about learning music, it could really be applied to any skill, so stay tuned and like and subscribe if you enjoy these videos. To begin, let's have a quick look at the prevailing popular views on how great skill is achieved. First, there are the people who say talent is primarily innate and predetermined. It's a neat and easy way out, the reasoning smooth and circular. No need to even try and think about it. Then you have the people who say greatness is only achieved through decades of joyless grind. They say that only hardship and sacrifice will lead to results. While this perspective technically allows for excellence to be achieved by many, it puts a huge question mark on whether it's even worth it. In the same vein, you'll often hear the famous 10,000-hour rule being mentioned. It says that to become an expert in anything, we need to practice that thing for at least 10,000 hours. The original author of this number claims he got it from this paper, a 1993 psychological study that continues to make waves, especially with countless self-optimization bloggers, authors, and gurus. It was used and misused thousands of times in the decades since. Many claims were made in its name that the original researchers never intended. They simply wanted to identify anomalies in the day-to-day life of outstanding music students compared to those who were considered merely good or average. And their findings were that yes, in general, more practice makes you better. But their claims were nowhere near as bold as it was presented to us by 1,000 podcasts. The top-performing students spent more time practicing and less with leisure than the worst-performing ones. But with the students in between, it actually gets a lot murkier. In 2019, another team of researchers tried to replicate the findings of the original study. They designed a more robust double-blind experiment with a larger sample size, and the differences shrunk even more. It even seems that there are greatly diminishing returns when it comes to the pure amount of practice. There needs to be something else at play on top of that. What further complicates the issue is that both studies had considerable trouble with clearly defining what's deliberate practice and what's not. And if you ask me, exactly this is where we're going to find the actual answer to our question. Only perfect practice makes perfect. Both studies acknowledge this issue. It's already difficult enough to design a survey that looks at the most basic differences. Designing one that accurately reflects the vast universe of different practice approaches is basically impossible. But maybe, instead of looking for the great top-down view, for this question it might be more practical to first construct a very simple thought experiment. Let's try to identify the lowest common denominator in education, something that allows us to understand the learning process itself in simple terms. Something that is quick and easy to try out and compare. How do you teach a trick to a dog? This is Toffee, and today she's our student. Toffee, say hello to the tonebase audience. They're the coolest people ever. Please don't bark at them. Sorry, guys. Okay, to teach a trick, we first need a trick. We need to know what it looks like and what steps we take towards achieving it. The second ingredient is repetition and patience. Toffee won't learn immediately, but given enough time, she'll be great. We need to practice often and regularly, but doing too much at once won't help either. And number 3, just as important, the reward. Without it, we won't achieve anything. For Toffee, she's not always food motivated, and she only likes being patted on her own terms. She's very independent, which is cute. She really likes praise though, and if you play with her, it's like the greatest thing ever. We already see that rewards are a bit more conditional. They need to suit the student. They need to be clear and predictable. Only a proper trick can result in a treat. And most crucially, the reward needs to happen immediately. Every second counts, and if we wait too long, it just won't work anymore. That last bit is the one thing I want to pay close attention to. As you might have guessed, this is our working hypothesis. When it comes to learning, humans fundamentally don't really differ that much from dogs. Our tricks can be more complex, but to properly learn them, we still need the same basic ingredients. If you're the teacher, you need to have a good understanding of the skill and you need to know what practical steps are necessary to get there. This, of course, also applies if you're your own teacher. In either case, join tonebase. Obviously, we need regular practice that's long enough to get results. It's really the third ingredient where things fall apart spectacularly. In all levels of the education system. It happens so often and tragically it usually happens unnoticed. Typically, both teachers and students blame any problems on the tangible method, ingredients 1 and 2 in our model. The initial thought is that it will just take another method book, a different technique, clearer instruction, or a better instrument, different strings, and the problem will be solved. If that doesn't work, we might throw around poorly defined terms such as lack of talent or laziness to swat away any potential for positive change. All of that while the issue most likely lies in a fundamental misunderstanding of how our own reward system works. Most people massively underestimate this to their own detriment. And basically anyone who's good at what they're doing will have at some point figured this out for themselves, no matter if they're aware of it or not. Rewards are not optional and they need to be adequate, clear, and immediate to trigger the learning process. This doesn't mean that every practice session has to be a euphoric party or that it's always going to be easy and pleasant. Would be nice though. What it means though is that there is a crucial element to the equation which we won't be able to prescribe. There's no universal user manual for rewards. The immediacy is especially a problem, one that can't always be solved by external motivators. This is why the lure of reward after practice doesn't help. In the worst case, it's actually more of a punishment because it makes us more impatient and takes away attention. We need to find the reward within practice itself. A crucial element of reward is anticipation. The piece of chocolate will taste a lot better if you first imagine how it will feel on your tongue. We can utilize this phenomenon in our practice and it automatically trains one of the most important musical skills, thinking ahead. Let's try to build up a sense of anticipation, an ideal thought of how the next action is going to play out. We're curious about how it will sound and how it will feel. And we feel the release once it works. This release is the reward. Once we're rewarded, the learning process is activated. There are physiological reactions that we can observe once this happens. Your pupils might dilate, tunnel vision, heart rate goes up, you'll be able to concentrate better, and even your fine motor control will improve, which in turn will make it easier to go for the next reward, ideally creating a positive feedback loop. You can even game this by teasing yourself. There's a complex chord change ahead that you can't seem to get right. Once it comes up, freeze and imagine what your fingers are going to do next. Stay frozen until it becomes unbearable. All the while, you cannot lose sight of what your fingers are going to do. Keep anticipating. Acknowledge the release once it's happened, and you will have much less trouble remembering it the next time. In the end, this is what we actually mean when we say to practice slowly and in sections. Without anticipation, we will just lose track of what's happening, and without experiencing the reward, we will struggle to retain any information anyway. There is infinitely more ways to trigger your reward system, and ultimately it's something that we can only figure out for one person at a time. Reward system, dilated pupils, increased heart rate sounds more like a drug than guitar practice. That's kind of the idea. If everything works as intended, the feeling of reward should lead to us wanting more of it, even if it means considerable effort. This also leads to a somewhat self-constructing pathway towards improvement. As the reward for achieving small wins fades away, we need a higher dose to get the same feeling. Ideally, this is achieved by mastering longer or more difficult passages. Looking at it like this also throws a totally different light on a phenomenon we usually admire as musicians. If someone actually manages to regularly practice 6, 8, 10 hours a day, it might not be superior willpower that gets them to do that, but rather an unhealthy relationship towards practice and the powerful reward system they built themselves. This is a genuine risk, and just like with a regular junkie, it could even be so bad that they don't actually get any reward from their drug anymore. Just extreme agony and guilt from the absence of it. Don't get too addicted. Overtraining is a thing for musicians too. Reward's parallel universe cousin is punishment. It does pretty much the opposite of what we're talking about, and because of that, it's something we should usually avoid. Punishment is a stopgap, a last resort if things went wrong for way too long. It may be able to stop things from getting worse, but it cannot be used in any meaningful way to achieve consistent growth. With dogs, we generally accept this nowadays, but in human education, this insight is still strongly contested. By its nature, punishment is way less specific and clear, and it wastes a whole lot of energy to process. Yet still, it occurs all of the time in the real world. And we tend to punish ourselves the most. How? Back to the difficult chord change. What happens if your attempt fails? If your fingers just don't do what they're supposed to? Most people will get frustrated, annoyed, and impatient. We punish ourselves. All that does is remove us even further from getting the reward. We're depriving ourselves from the opportunity to learn. You can literally observe this phenomenon. It's this typical withdrawal motion that happens 1,000,000 times per day in every music school ever. The solution is really to keep seeking the reward until you have it. Don't punish yourself. And if you're unable to keep the frustration out, the stakes need to be lowered. Allow yourself an easy win to gain momentum. And if truly nothing works, it's time to try again tomorrow. There's no way around this. Attention, focus, self-control, willpower, discipline. Ultimately, these are all the same thing, and it's a limited resource. Rewards are simply how we open the tap. But if the tank is empty, we need to replenish it, which is where the 1993 study found the only other tangible difference. The very best students slept an hour longer than the average population. And they napped more often, resetting their reward system for afternoon practice. This gives us a good model of why consistency is so important. Our tank can only fill up so much. Any excess can't be saved up. Every day gives us a limited amount of growth opportunities. If we don't use them, they're gone. Also, by the way, there's another implication here. If we find ourselves chronically unrewarded, we never actually empty the tank, which is an entirely separate issue. All of these insights might seem obvious to anyone who already got this figured out. And they're nothing new in education. Teachers have been successfully employing positive reinforcement methods since ancient times. My thoughts specifically come with the particular bias of my own teacher's methods. My dad's been a constant stream of instantly rewarding didactic tricks and methods for the last 4 decades. I asked him if he would add anything to this video, and he said that for him, his approach is directly caused by having had the most unrewarding learning experience imaginable. No support, only perpetual self-flagellation. In his own teaching, he did the exact opposite of what that teacher was doing, and unsurprisingly, it turned out to be wildly successful. He also added that in our practice, we need to actively embrace mistakes as friends. Being scared of them blocks our reward system too. This is a big one, especially for the classical musicians. It's not news that all of this can work wonders, but still you'll see it again and again. When things go wrong, it's more often than not because people don't know how to handle or communicate this fundamental challenge. Our learning environments are nowhere near rewarding enough. Knowing how to achieve this is really its own 10,000-hour skill. Teaching must be practiced too. It has its own reward structure. Crucially, teachers need to be able to feel their students' rewards. On average, more than 80% of beginner students lose interest in improving their skills early, and many of them will drop out soon after. This number is not a law of nature, and it can be lowered significantly. Of course, maintaining a strong reward system requires many additional incentives, like support and recognition from others. At some point, we need bigger goals than just playing the next note nicely. But we actually start believing in these goals because of the small wins, not the other way around. It's where we should always start. Even if you've already managed to make practice itself rewarding, this doesn't automatically mean you're actually practicing regularly. Toffee has that issue. She really likes going for a walk, but she also doesn't like leaving the house. Tonebase won't be able to help her. But for everyone else, it's not only a comprehensive repository of world-class knowledge in all things classical music. It also provides many ways to make yourself more accountable and always inspired to learn more. Regular lessons, live streams, community events, practice plans, workbooks, sheet music, and much more await all eager learners. Did you know that Tonebase is always rapidly expanding its repertoire and offers all of that for 7 different instruments? Check the link in the description to learn more. Thank you to Tonebase for making videos like this possible. Believe it or not, but this video was originally supposed to be about Benjamin Britten's Nocturnal and Julian Bream. It just mutated a bit on the way from my mind to your screen. But then again, it kind of still is about that. The Nocturnal is the champion piece of all dreamers. Britain's exploration of sleep as the ultimate muse. Check out Steve Goss's comprehensive take on it. Julian Bream was, of course, famously musician first, gardener second. We should do a proper video about him. Let us know in the comments what rewards you. Don't forget to leave a sub if you enjoyed this. I'm Jakob Schmidt for Tonebase. See you in the next one. Cheers!